All right, everyone. John Roberts is normally a pretty quiet and laid-back figure at SCOTUS. Like, as Chief Justice, he tends to be very demure. He's sort of like Clarence Thomas used to be. Now, all of a sudden, Clarence Thomas, he gets a lot of hit pieces about him because he's become uppity now. The white liberal NIMBYists don't really like the fact that he slipped his leash, so to speak. He wandered off the plantation and it was Joe Biden initially who tried to crucify him. I wonder why he's no fan of the Biden administration, by the way. AI is now being warned about by John Roberts, which means that we should probably take it seriously because, again, issuing this sort of off-the-bench legal opinion is not generally something that he does. He's a very quiet justice overall. And also Bush appointee. He's a neocon. But when he warns about the rise of AI and how it will inevitably seep into the justice system, we should be worried. Because AI could do a lot of fucking damage within the legal system. Imagine, if you will, that you have a government that already has wide latitude and infinite resources to prosecute people. And it does this often. You have onerous charges, differential enforcement, you've got a lot of corruption within the so-called justice system. Now imagine that they can outsource all of the thinking and the paperwork and the legalese to a massive computer. And they can fund it with your taxpayer dollars. Or they can just hoodwink a corporation, get them to do it for them. Hey, Microsoft, if you don't want to get investigated by the SEC, you will let us use this computer that you just built. And we're going to use it for legal purposes. You imagine that you could sort through all case precedent, all legal paperwork within a few short hours. You could literally go through it all. Every bench decision issued by a federal court, prior cases that would be similar to the case that you're currently looking at. You use deep learning to sort of categorize the cases and then compile a criminal complaint or a civil complaint against somebody within a few days that normally would take you many months to actually sort through. Imagine that the overbearing tyranny of the so-called justice system that plants crack in black people's cars and swats people and shit like that had even more limitless resources. It's no longer just limitless money. It's no longer just, hey, we've got all the time in the world, you might as well take this settlement. It's more like, hey, we don't need all of the time in the world, or the goddamn manpower. And it costs a lot less money because a computer's doing it instead of a whole field team doing it. Well, we've basically concluded that you're guilty. You know, the machine says so. The CIA right now is delving into the use of AI to sort through shit that they've spied on people about. Like they've got reams and reams of paperwork. They're going to have it partially sorted now by an AI system. They announced that last month. I reported on it. Imagine that the CIA coke runners have the ability to instantaneously rig up a case against you. The FBI will naturally want aboard too. Hey, we can't fall behind these other agencies. The weaponized FBI is going to start using AI and machine learning and shit like that. This can't possibly go wrong. John Roberts, again, is generally reluctant and hesitant to say anything at all. He speaks as little as possible, generally speaking, except as it pertains to actual cases. For him, off the cuff, therefore, to come out and say, oh, I think that AI is going to infiltrate the legal system, become a big problem. We have to be careful and cautious about that. That's kind of scary, actually. I mean, I would expect maybe Clarence Thomas maybe comes out, and again, now that he's become uppity and so forth, maybe he comes out and says something like that, or Ketanji comes out. She's the most verbose justice, by the way. Back in the day of Breyer, I mean, he would have ranted for hours. He loved his fucking job, by the way. But instead, fucking John Roberts is the one coming out to warn about this. Again, if you study the Supreme Court at all and you look at sort of the decorum and the personalities of justices and their entire volumes written on this subject, it is a fascinating one. When John Roberts is the one issuing this sort of statement, that should give people pause. Certainly gives me pause. What I would say is definitely we need to ban AI from being used in that sense. Defendants want to use it, and inevitably will. I don't have a problem with that. But as far as the government being able to utilize that kind of technological force to instantaneously, near instantaneously, the justice system is notoriously slow. Yeah, their trial date is set for 6 years from now. Enjoy your ankle monitor. In such a context, if prosecutorial power is capable of utilizing that sort of system, again, partially taxpayer funded, to prosecute taxpayers, I would think that brings up some sort of constitutional concern, by the way, at least. Imagine that you're going to law school right now, you're trying to be a legal clerk or something like that, and you're like, I'm basically gonna be fucked in the ass. Yeah, I've studied for 7 years, and now I'm losing my job to a Microsoft computer or to some server at IBM. And those computers are getting faster, and they're getting more smart. And by the way, while we're on the subject briefly of AI here, I would like to make one aside. Computers are capable of outperforming humans in any era, literally any area whatsoever. The problem is they're not very multifunctional. So the computing power is going to have to be very single-minded. So you're not really going to have an ethical system on this AI when you're sorting through the legal paperwork now, are you? You're just going to have everything sorted, categorized, and shat out, basically. A computer can get a robot running faster than a human, but can that robot also cook rice? That's the sticking point. It's about multifunctionalism. AI doesn't have that problem, though. The AI is capable of doing effectively whatever humans guide it towards doing. And right now, we're in the... Look at all of the shit that's going on with AI right now anyway. I mean, you've got OnlyFans pages where there's no actual human involved, and nobody even knows that it's AI in some cases because it's so expertly done. Just don't show that model's fingers, of course. Or their toes. That could be a sticking point. Don't you think that 5-10 years from now, it'll be catastrophically more powerful? It'll probably learn how to render human hands. That'll be the end of mankind, I suppose. Skynet will be here. I don't believe that it should be used in a prosecutorial sense, though. Again, if a defense attorney or some group like that defending people against government's frivolous charges wants to use AI, I think that's perfectly fine. But if you're having it taxpayer funded and the government is involved, the government administering the so-called justice system, that's nightmarish. That is a terrible idea. The amount of persecution that even liberals admit, well, the government persecutes people all the time, partially based on race and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think it will do if it starts employing AI systems? It'll be able to persecute people 100 times more quickly and efficiently. That's not something that I think that we need as a nation. I think that we've got enough of that right now within lawfare. That's about all. Peace out.